It only takes one careless word to burn down a life. And my Ramadami best friend was the one holding the match. The first time I heard my name paired with the word gay, it wasn't from my own lips. It was in the cafeteria, where voices echo like accusations bouncing off tiled walls. And laughter always carries louder than truth. I remember the sound sharp, cutting, impossible to unhear. My secret, the one I had buried so deep I thought no one could dig it out, had just been served up to the entire freshman class like gossip on a silver platter. And it was Tyler who had said it. Tyler, with his easy smile and the kind of charm that made professors remember his name and girls linger too long in hallways. Tyler, who I thought was my friend. I froze that day, tray trembling in my hands. The smell of greasy pizza and cheap coffee nauseating as whispers spread like wildfire. My chest was tight, my palms sweating. Faces turned. Some smirked. Some frowned. Some looked away as if catching the shame was contagious. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to rip the words out of the air and shove them back into Tyler's mouth. But Tylery just looked at me, eyes unreadable, like he hadn't just detonated a grenade in the middle of my life. I didn't know then that his betrayal would break me open in ways I never expected. I didn't know it would drag me through nights of anger and tears, through slammed doors and sharp words, and somehow against all logic toward something neither of us were ready to name. Because Tyler wasn't just the boy who ruined me. He was also the boy who kept showing up when I needed him least. And most. The first week after. I couldn't breathe around him. Every second in our dorm room was unbearable. His bed across from mine might as well have been a battlefield line. The hum of his laptop, the scratch of his pen, the quiet rhythm of his breathing at night, all of it felt like mockery. I tried ignoring him, headphones jammed in my ears, eyes glued to textbooks I couldn't focus on. But Tyler had this maddening persistence. He'd tap my shoulder, try small talk, toss me a bag of chips like nothing had changed. One night, I snapped. "Do you think this is funny?" My voice was sharp, slicing through the silence. "Do you think my life is a joke?" Tyler flinched. For once, that smooth confidence slipped, and guilt flickered in his eyes. He sat up from his bed, running a hand through his dark hair. "I didn't mean for it to spread like that," he said, softer than I expected. "It slipped. I thought, hell, I don't know what I thought. That it wouldn't matter. That maybe you'd be relieved." Relieved. My laugh was bitter. Do you know what it's like to walk across campus and feel every pair of eyes on you? To wonder who's laughing, who's disgusted, who's waiting for you to mess up. He opened his mouth, closed it, then whispered, "I'm sorry." But sorry didn't put my secret back in the box. Sorry didn't stop the texts from unknown numbers, the muttered slurs as I passed groups of guys on the quad, the way professors suddenly looked at me differently, like I was fragile glass about to shatter. And yet, despite everything, I caught myself watching him. The way his jaw clenched when someone made a crude joke in class. The way he lingered near me, too close, like some invisible tether refused to let him walk away. I hated him. I hated that I couldn't hate him enough. Weeks blurred together. Some days were better. Most weren't. Then came the night it all cracked open. It was late. The kind of late where the campus was silent except for the hum of streetlights and the occasional slam of a distant door. Couldn't sleep. My chest was tight. Thoughts spiraling. The weight of being known pressing down like a physical ache. I sat on my bed, head in my hands, trying not to break. Tyler's voice came through the dark. "You're not alone, you know." I didn't look up. Funny. Sure feels like it. The mattress creaked as he shifted. Then footsteps crossed the room. Suddenly, he was sitting on the edge of my bed. Too close. His warmth brushing against me. "I messed up," he said. "I know that. But I swear I never meant to hurt you. His voice cracked, and for the first time, I heard something raw, something unguarded. I don't want you to hate me. I lifted my head, ready to spit out the words I'd been holding back. But when I met his eyes, the fight drained out of me. He looked scared. Not the Tyler everyone else saw, the confident, untouchable guy, but a boy my age who didn't have all the answers. The silence stretched. His hand inched closer, hesitating, then resting on mine. My breath caught. Should have been anger. Should have been rejection. But it wasn't. It was something dangerous. Something that made my heart race and my throat tighten. And for the first time since everything exploded, I didn't feel alone. That was the beginning. Not of forgiveness, not yet. That would take time. More fights. More tears. More nights where I swore I couldn't trust him again. But it was the beginning of seeing Tyler differently. Of realizing that his betrayal wasn't the end of us, but the start of something neither of us understood. Because sometimes the people who break you are also the ones who hold you together. And Tyler was becoming both. Tyler's hand lingered on mine longer than it should have. The silence between us wasn't empty. It was heavy, full of things I didn't dare name. My skin burned where his fingers touched, like a spark caught in dry grass, threatening to ignite everything I had tried so hard to control. Pulled away first. The loss was immediate. Cold rushed in where warmth had been. I shifted back on the bed, hugging my knees to my chest. You can't just do that, I whispered. My voice was raw, breaking. You don't get to ruin my life and then act like this. He stared at me, jaw tight, breathing slow as if he were holding something back. Then he stood, crossing the room to his own bed, dragging a hand down his face. Right? He muttered. Because I'm the villain in your story. Got it? The words cut. Maybe because they weren't entirely untrue. But admitting that meant tearing down walls I wasn't ready to face. So instead, I stayed silent. The room filled with the hum of our breath. The clock ticking too loud. Neither of us slept that night. The following days were worse in a different way. Tyler kept his distance. Not out of anger but out of restraint. His jokes died on his tongue. His footsteps quieter. His glances careful. It was like living with a ghost of the boy I used to know. And yet, even in silence, he was everywhere. I noticed the way his shoulders tensed when someone whispered as we walked by. How his fists clenched when I lowered my head in shame. He never said a word. But I felt it, the quiet, burning guilt that wrapped around him like a shadow. One afternoon, I came back to the dorm and found him sitting cross-legged on his bed, staring at his phone. He didn't notice me at first. His lips moved, as if rehearsing something. You're gay, he muttered to himself, then shook his head. No, too blunt. Just he groaned, dropping the phone, burying his face in his hands. I froze in the doorway. For a second, I thought I'd misheard. But then it hit me. The look in his eyes. The weight in his voice. He wasn't practicing how to mock me. He was practicing how to admit something to himself. I backed out of the room quietly, heart pounding so hard I thought it would echo down the hall. The realization changed everything. I started noticing the cracks. How his eyes lingered a beat too long when he thought I wasn't looking. How his laugh faltered when a girl flirted with him. His smile stiff and wrong. How he hovered near me in crowded rooms, like a compass that had lost all direction except me. Terrified me, because if I was right, if Tyler's betrayal had come not from cruelty but from fear, then he wasn't just the boy who exposed me. He was a boy trapped in the same closet, fumbling for the doorknob in the dark. And if that was true, then maybe, just maybe, he could break me in ways I'd never recover from. The storm finally broke on a Friday night. The dorm was loud with weekend energy music pulsing from open doors. Laughter echoing down the halls. I wanted no part of it. I curled up on my bed with headphones, trying to drown out the noise. Then the door slammed open. Tyler stumbled in, cheeks flushed, hair messy. He reeked of cheap beer, though I knew he hadn't had that much. His eyes locked on me, wild and desperate. "We need to talk," he said, voice unsteady. I pulled out my earbuds. "Not like this." "Yes, like this. Because if I don't say it now, I never will." Something in his tone made my chest tighten. He crossed the room in 3 strides, stopping just short of me. His breath was uneven, his hands trembling at his sides. "I told them about you," he said, words tumbling out fast, jagged. "I told them because I thought if I said it out loud, it would make it less real for me." I blinked. "What?" "I'm such an idiot." He laughed, bitter and broken. "I thought if I shoved the spotlight on you, no one would look at me. I thought if I said it about you, maybe no one would guess the truth about me." The world tilted. My stomach dropped. His words crashed over me, shattering everything I thought I knew. "You're saying," my voice cracked. "You're saying you're—" He swallowed hard. His eyes glistened in the dim light. "Yeah, I am. And I hate myself for the way I handled it. For the way I hurt you. But I can't keep pretending anymore." Silence. Heavy. Crushing. My heart raced so fast it hurt. I wanted to scream at him. Hit him. Tell him he had no right to drag me through hell because he was afraid. But all I could do was stare at him, the boy who had wrecked me, standing there with his soul in his hands, trembling. "Why are you telling me this now?" I whispered. "Because," he said, voice breaking, "you're the only person I've ever wanted to tell." The air between us was electric, dangerous. His confession cracked something open in me, anger and longing colliding in a storm I couldn't contain. I stood, fists clenched at my sides. "Do you have any idea what you did to me? Do you know how many nights I couldn't breathe because of you?" "I know," he whispered, "and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right if you let me." "Why should I?" "Because," he stepped closer, so close I could feel the heat of him. "Because I think I've been in love with you this whole time." The words hit me like a punch. My knees went weak, breath catching. For a moment, the noise of the dorm faded, the world shrinking to just the 2 of us. I should have pushed him away. I should have told him it was too late. But instead, I stood frozen, my heart betraying me, pounding with something I couldn't deny. Tyler reached up, hesitating, his hand trembling as it brushed my cheek. My eyes fluttered shut despite myself, a shiver racing down my spine. And then his lips were on mine. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't careful. It was raw, desperate, full of apologies he couldn't speak. And God help me, I kissed him back. When we finally broke apart, our foreheads pressed together, both of us breathless. Reality crashed back in. "This doesn't fix anything," I whispered. "I know," he said. "But maybe it's a start." I wanted to hate him. I wanted to shove him away, to build my walls higher, stronger. But the truth was already clawing its way out of me. Undeniable. I didn't just want him. I needed him. And that terrified me more than anything else. The kiss hung between us like smoke after a fire thick, impossible to ignore, choking me with its weight. My lips still tingled. My chest still thundered. And yet my mind screamed that I had made a mistake. I pulled back, stumbling a step away. "We can't, Tyler. We can't." His face tightened, a shadow of hurt flashing in his eyes. "Why not?" Don't tell me you didn't feel that. Of course I felt it. I snapped, running a hand through my hair, pacing the narrow space of our dorm room. That's the problem. He stood there, shoulders squared like he was bracing for a fight. So what? You're just going to pretend it didn't happen. Pretend we didn't happen. There is no we, I said. My voice cracked. You made sure of that the moment you opened your mouth in the cafeteria. The words hit him like a slap. He flinched, and for a moment, I almost softened. But the anger was still there, sharp and burning. He shoved his hands into his pockets, looking down. I know I don't deserve another chance, but you're the only person who makes me feel like I'm not drowning. His voice trembled. When I kissed you, it was the first time I felt like I could breathe. Something inside me twisted, because as much as I wanted to deny it, as much as I wanted to bury the truth, I knew exactly what he meant. The following week was a blur of confusion. Tyler kept his distance, but not completely. He hovered, watching me with quiet eyes, as if waiting for me to either shatter or come closer. I couldn't meet his gaze for long without remembering the press of his lips, the warmth of his hand. I tried to lose myself in classes, in assignments, in anything that would keep me from thinking about him. But the more I tried, the harder it became. He was everywhere. His laughter echoing in my head, his cologne clinging to the air, his presence filling the room even when I pretended he wasn't there. And the whispers on campus hadn't gone away. They lingered, sharp and cruel. I caught them in the hallways, in classrooms, in the way people looked at me like I was defined by one word: gay. One afternoon, I sat on the steps outside the library, pretending to read, when two guys walked by. Hey, isn't that him? One of them muttered, not even bothering to lower his voice. Yeah, the one his roommate outed. A snicker. Guess we know what they do in that dorm. Their laughter faded as they walked away, but the sting remained. My stomach churned, shame coiling like a snake. I didn't even realize Tyler was standing a few feet away until he stepped forward, eyes blazing. Say that again. He called after them. The guys turned, startled. Tyler's fists were clenched. His whole body coiled like he was ready to throw a punch. Tyler, don't! I grabbed his arm, pulling him back. They don't get to talk about you like that. He growled, his jaw tight. They already do, I said softly. My hand lingered on his arm longer than it should have. And you fighting them won't change it. For a moment, we just stood there, our breaths uneven, the world around us forgotten. His eyes softened as he looked at me, something unspoken hanging between us. And then he stepped back, shoving his hands in his pockets, his voice low. I'm not going to let them break you. That night, couldn't sleep again. I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, every word, every look replaying in my head. Finally, I whispered, Tyler. He stirred on his bed. Yeah. Why me? Silence stretched, heavy. Then he said, because you're the first person I ever let myself want. And the only one I've ever been afraid to lose. My throat tightened. I wanted to say something back. Anything but the words stuck. Instead, I turned toward the wall, hiding the tears burning my eyes. The days that followed were a slow unraveling. We fell into a rhythm: quiet mornings, awkward silences, moments of almost too much. Sometimes I'd catch him watching me, his gaze soft, vulnerable. Sometimes our hands would brush when we reached for the same notebook, and electricity would shoot through me like lightning. And then there were the nights where the dorm was quiet, the world asleep, and the air between us hummed with everything we weren't saying. One of those nights, he broke. I can't do this anymore, he whispered, sitting on the edge of my bed. His voice trembled. I can't keep pretending I don't want you. My breath caught. I sat up, my heart pounding. Tyler, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. He cut me off. But I'm asking anyway, because every day I spend watching you pull away feels like I'm dying. The desperation in his eyes was undeniable. And the truth was, I was just as desperate. Slowly, I reached out, my hand brushing his. You hurt me, I whispered. I know. His voice broke. And if I could take it back, I would. But I can't. All I can do is try to prove that I'm not the same coward who let fear ruin everything. The room was silent except for our breathing. My heart hammered as I whispered, then prove it. And this time, when he kissed me, I didn't pull away. But love, if that's what this was, didn't fix the world outside our dorm. The whispers grew louder. Some people stopped talking to me altogether. Others laughed openly, cruel and sharp. And every time it happened, I saw the guilt in Tyler's eyes, like he was carrying the weight of my scars on his shoulders. One evening, as we walked across campus, a group of guys jeered from the steps of a frat house. Hey, lovers. One shouted. Which one of you wears the dress? Laughter exploded behind us. My face burned, shame crawling under my skin. I lowered my head, quickening my pace. But Tyler stopped. He turned toward them, his voice steady, louder than I'd ever heard. Say whatever you want about me, but you don't get to talk about him. The laughter faltered. For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then someone muttered, whatever, man. And they turned away. Tyler caught up to me, his face pale but determined. You don't have to do that, I said quietly. Yes, I do, he replied. His eyes met mine, fierce and unwavering. Because I should have done it from the beginning. Something inside me cracked open, then not with pain, but with something warmer, something terrifyingly close to hope. We didn't have all the answers. We didn't even have a plan. But for the first time, I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, Tyler wasn't the villain in my story after all. Maybe he was the boy who could help me write a new one. The shift between us was subtle at first, an unspoken truce, a quiet gravity pulling us together. But soon, it became impossible to hide. Every glance lingered too long. Every brush of skin sent sparks that neither of us could deny. We weren't just roommates anymore. We weren't even just friends. We were something fragile and dangerous, teetering on the edge of exposure. And yet, despite everything, I felt alive in a way I never had before. But the world has a cruel way of noticing things you're desperate to keep hidden. It started with whispers again. Not just about me this time, but about Tyler too. People noticed the way he hovered close, the way his eyes softened when they landed on me. Rumors spread like wildfire, rumors that weren't entirely wrong this time. One night, I came back from the library to find him pacing our room, jaw tight, hands clenched into fists. What's wrong? I asked carefully. He looked at me. Stormy. They're saying things about you again. About us. I dropped my bag, sighing. They've been saying things for weeks. Why does it matter now? Because it's not just about you anymore, he snapped. His voice cracked with something raw. They're coming after me too. I stared at him, anger rising. Welcome to my world, Tyler. You outed me. Remember? You made me live in this mess. And now you're upset that you finally have to taste it. His face crumpled, guilt slicing through his anger. I know. And I deserve it. But you don't. You never did. The words softened me. Just a little. He sat heavily on his bed, burying his face in his hands. I'm not scared for me, he murmured. I'm scared for you. I can take it, but I don't want to see them break you down any more than they already have. Something in my chest cracked. Despite everything, despite all the pain, his fear wasn't for himself, it was for me. Across the room, sitting beside him, tentatively, I placed my hand on his. He didn't move away. We're in this together now, I whispered. If they're coming after us, let them. We'll face it. Both of us. He lifted his head, eyes shining. And in that moment, I realized, the boy who once destroyed me was slowly becoming the only one I trusted to stand beside me. But life doesn't slow down just because your heart is finally learning how to beat. The pressure mounted. Professors gave us looks. Friends stopped inviting us out. The cafeteria became a gauntlet of stares and whispers. Then came the night that broke me. We had gone to a party, stupid. I know. But Tyler insisted. If we hide away forever, they win, he said. So I went, clinging to his determination. At first, it was fine. Loud music, cheap beer, the usual chaos of college parties. But then, a group of guys cornered us near the back porch. Look who it is. One sneered. The lovebirds. The others laughed. One of them shoved Tyler's shoulder. So, which one of you begged first? My stomach churned. I tried to step past them, but another blocked my path. Maybe we should find out, he said, his tone dripping with menace. Before I could react, Tyler shoved him back. Touch him. And I swear, the shove escalated fast. Hands grabbed. Fists flew. Chaos erupted around us. I tried to pull Tyler back, but the guys were bigger, meaner, fueled by something ugly. Someone shoved me hard against the wall. My head cracked, stars exploding behind my eyes. I slid down, disoriented, watching as Tyler swung wildly, taking blows meant for both of us. Stop, I shouted, but my voice was swallowed by the noise. Finally, other students rushed in, dragging people apart. Someone pulled me up. Someone else grabbed Tyler, blood dripping from his split lip. The party ended in shouts and curses. We stumbled back to the dorm, bruised and broken. Tyler's face was swollen. My ribs ached, but the silence between us hurt more than the injuries. When we finally sat down, he grabbed my hands, his own shaking. This is my fault. All of it. If I hadn't. Stop, I whispered. Tears blurred my vision. Don't you dare make this about blame again. We're here. We survived. That's what matters. His eyes glistened, and for once, he didn't argue. He just pulled me into his arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. And for the first time, I let him. The weeks that followed were different. Something shifted in both of us after that night. Maybe it was the fight. Maybe it was the way he shielded me, the way he bled for me. Or maybe it was just the inevitability of what had been building all along. We stopped pretending. Late at night, when the world outside was asleep, we became something real. His hand in mine under the covers. His breath warm against my neck. Whispered words in the dark that I never thought I'd hear. I'm yours, he murmured one night, his voice trembling. For as long as you'll have me. And against all odds, I believed him. But the world wasn't done testing us. Rumors of the fight spread. The dean called us into his office, his expression stern, disappointment dripping from every word. This campus is a place of learning, not a boxing ring, he said. Tyler took the blame. All of it. He stood tall, shoulders squared, and said, "It was me. Suspend me if you have to, but leave him out of it." I stared at him, stunned. The boy who once betrayed me was now standing between me and the consequences of his own actions. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I loved him. Not in spite of his flaws. Not because of his charm. But because he was willing to fall on the sword for me. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to change everything. The suspension never came. The dean, after a long lecture, gave Tyler community service hours and a warning instead. But the damage, the whispers, the stares, the way people saw us was still there. For weeks, felt like we were walking through fire. Some people supported us quietly, an encouraging nod in the hallway. A smile from a classmate who didn't say much but said enough. Others weren't so kind. There were doors slammed in our faces at parties. Cruel words scratched into the whiteboard outside our dorm. But somehow, through all of it, we became stronger. One evening, after another long day of classes, I came back to the dorm to find Tyler sitting at his desk, scribbling in a notebook. His face was tense, determined, but there was something vulnerable in the way his hand trembled over the page. "What are you writing?" I asked cautiously. He looked up, startled, then slid the notebook toward me. "It's for you." I frowned, flipping it open. Inside was a letter, long, messy, written in his uneven scrawl. The words blurred as I read. "I betrayed you. I hurt you. I became the person you feared most. And I will never forgive myself for that. But I want you to know this, every day since. I've been trying to be someone better. For you. Because I don't just like you. I don't just want you. I love you. And I'd rather stand with you in the fire than live a safe, empty life without you." My throat closed. My hands shook as I lowered the notebook. "Tyler." He stood, crossing the room in 2 strides. "I know I don't deserve you. But if you'll let me, I'll spend every day proving I do." Tears stung my eyes. And for the first time, the walls I had built so carefully crumbled. I stepped into him, burying my face against his chest. His arms wrapped around me, steady and sure. "You don't have to prove anything," I whispered. "You already have." The weeks that followed were different. We didn't hide anymore. We walked across campus side by side, our shoulders brushing. We sat together in the cafeteria, not caring who whispered. Sometimes Tyler would slip his hand into mine under the table, and I stopped pulling away. There were still hard days. Cruel words didn't magically disappear. But slowly, people grew used to us. And in their silence, we carved out space for ourselves. One afternoon, as we sat under a tree near the quad, Tyler leaned back on his elbows, gazing at me with that lazy smile of his. "You know," he said, "I used to think falling in love would feel like fireworks. Explosive, messy, dangerous. And now?" I asked. He shrugged. "Now it just feels like home." Something in my chest ached. Because he was right. For all the chaos, all the pain, when I was with him, I felt safe, seen, loved. I reached over, threading my fingers through his. "Home," I echoed. The final test came at the end of the semester. Our English professor assigned us a personal essay, something raw and true. I agonized over mine for days, terrified of exposing too much. But Tyler turned his in early. When the professor asked him to read it aloud, my heart nearly stopped. He stood at the front of the room, holding his paper with steady hands, and began. "I used to think courage was about being fearless, but I've learned it's about being honest, about standing beside the person you love, even when the world tells you not to. I made mistakes. I hurt someone I care about more than anything. But I've learned that love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing someone, again and again, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." And I choose him. Every time. The room was silent when he finished. My face burned. My heart pounded. But for once, I didn't feel small. I felt free. When he sat back down beside me, couldn't hold back. I reached over, took his hand in front of everyone, and held it. He squeezed back, his smile soft, steady. And in that moment, I knew we'd be okay. By the time summer came, life had settled into something almost normal. We packed up our dorm room, the space that had seen our worst and best moments. As we folded the last box, Tyler wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" he asked quietly. "Every day," I admitted. "And do you regret it?" I turned in his arms, meeting his gaze. His eyes were full of all the things we'd survived, all the things we'd built. "No," I said firmly. "Not 1 second." He kissed me then slow, sure, filled with everything we hadn't been able to say. And for the first time, it didn't feel like a secret. It felt like a beginning. Looking back, I realized the truth. My life didn't change the day Tyler revealed my secret. My life changed the day I chose not to run from it. The day I chose him. And somehow, against all odds, he chose me too. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.